Very good evening to all my dear MOS members and the ophthalmic fraternity who have joined. This is the first initiative of the MOS Women's Empowerment Committee headed by Dr. Karobi Lahiri. And today we have a host of faculties, the star faculty with us, none other than Dr. Chitra Ramamurthy, chairman of the ARC, Dr. D. Ramamurthy, the past chairman scientific committee of AIOS and the past president of AIOS. My dear friend Dr. Mohan Rajan, the medical director of the Rajan Eye Care Center, and a very, very innovative and a very good entertainer at heart. So the topic today has been regarding the women empowerment. So we have chosen a right topic and aptly starting with none other than our star speaker, Dr. Chitra Ramamurthy. She is going to speak on women in leadership. Why not? They also want, Baba, why women should not be part of the leadership. We see males around everywhere, and now with times that have changed, they are equal or more than equal. So this is the right time to take over. I've now request Dr. Susha. She is our moderator today for the whole session. The young and dynamic neuro-ophthalmologist and a pediatric ophthalmologist practicing in Mumbai. She has done a DNB from Aditya Jyot Eye Hospital, a fellow in pediatric ophthalmology from LV Prasad Eye Institute, a fellow in neuro-ophthalmology from Arvind Eye. In 2016, she has a great zeal for continued education and teaching and has three publications, has presented multiple papers, posters, workshops, instruction courses. And she's a member of the BOA, MOS, and the All India Ophthalmological Society, the World Society of Pediatric Ophthalmology and Strabismus, and a group of pediatric ophthalmologists and strabismus Mumbai. Has been enlisted as the faculty instructor for the skill transfer courses of All India Ophthalmological Society and has received certificate of appreciation from the academic contribution of the Bombay Ophthalmic Association in 2018. So we have a dynamic moderator today. Over to you, Susha, for conducting the whole session. All the best. And welcome all the star faculties. We also have the chairman of the Women's Empowerment Committee, Dr. Karubi Lahiri, my good friend. She's also a part, she's an in-house faculty. That is why I just enlisted her name initially. And she is the star within us who has taken all the initiative to go ahead with all the programs. And I also invite all the panelists today, as I just said. Over to you, Susha.
Thank you very much, sir. So
Welcome.
just sharing my screen. Thank you very much for the lovely introduction. So with great pleasure, and it's an honor to introduce our speaker for the day for this lovely topic, Dr. Chitra Ramamurthy ma'am, who is the medical director of the Eye Foundation, a chain of 13 state-of-the-art eye hospitals in South India. She is also the chairman of the ARC AIOS for the years to 2020 to 23. She's also a managing committee member of Tamil Nadu Ophthalmic Association. She is highly proficient in cataract refractive surgery and glaucoma, a pioneer in refractive surgery. She has done a large number of surgeries from 1997 with all the cutting edge technology. She has a special distinction in organizing multiple instruction courses in India and abroad, partaking in ASRCS, APAO, APAS-CRS, and ESCRS on a regular basis. She also has many papers to her credit, both nationally and internationally, and contributed to book chapters in refractive surgery. She has been the chairperson of the scientific committee of TNOA in the year 2002 and 2015. Just to quote a few accolades and awards that she has: Dr. R.P. Tandon Oration by Jharkhand Ophthalmic Society, Dr. Ravi Kumar Reddy Oration, Dr. P.R. Mondal Memorial Oration Award, Dr. D. Sundareswaran Endowment Oration Award, Dr. Om Prakash Gold Medal, Dr. Vinod Arora Oration Award, Dr. Subodh Agarwal Gold Medal, Shiv Prasad Hardiya Award for the best paper in refractive surgery. So over to you, ma'am, for the lovely topic for which you are ideally suited, women in leadership roles, why not?
Shall I share my screen?
Yes, ma'am.
So here you see me on, see my first slide.
Yes.
Yes. So first and foremost, I would want to express my deep felt thanks, actually my heartfelt thanks to every single member of Maharashtra State Ophthalmic Society for giving me this wonderful opportunity to talk on this topic, which is also close to my heart. And I really am grateful to my dear friend, Dr. Jignesh, for who's been proving himself to be an amazing president, the way he's taken off, and to have thought of me for this very impressive session at 9 o'clock on Monday. I'm not sure how many of you are going to be logged on into this session at this point of time. But when I talk of leadership, when I have this very small role of a leadership role in AIOS at this point of time, I think I need to place on record my gratitude to one and all of you, because I remember coming to your Bombay Ophthalmic Society meetings year after year, to the point that I even started identifying myself as an essential part of your meetings. And I remember meeting so many of you and asking for votes at so many occasions for my different posts which I stood at AIOS. And if whatever leadership has come into me, I think you should take credit for a major segment of it. So here I go on to my topic, women in leadership. Why not? Very simplistically and altruistically speaking, let's try to first understand what is leadership. Leadership, as some famous words were, leadership is not about titles or positions or flowcharts. To me and to this famous man, it's about one life influencing another. That means leadership is about teamwork, contribution, success, goals, motivation and support. Or is leadership a virtue, a deep virtue which is instilled in you, an emotion so deeply enrooted and enmeshed in you? Is it a passion which completely engulfs you, a focus on focus that just beats the ordinary? And I want to ask you, do you think, is it a difficult terrain? The next question which will automatically come is it actually mandatory for us to take this terrain? Could be tough, it could be deluding, it could also be frustrating, and could not be encouraging, and it could be even steeped in politics at some point of time. But on the other hand, do we stay put in just that predestined slots for our rest of our life? Is it not mandatory that each of us try to seek that never-ending point, which they call the horizon? And possibly that's when the story of leadership starts. It tells, again, a famous words are being quoted, do not follow where the path may lead. In fact, go instead where there is no path and leave a trail. And I wish as a chairman ARC, I'm able to leave a trail of so much of academics and learning that I've instilled and keep reinstilling in your minds in this time of pandemics, that you remember me with my smile even beyond my times. When we talk of leadership, the story started when we were quite young. You know, we used to all run to play in the evenings with our kites. And there was one tiny leader amongst us. He used to run right in front of us. Our kites were floating somewhere close to the ground and his kites high. And he had some kind of an indigenous medicine which he would apply on the indigenous application on the threads of the kite. And he would have all the kites cut down and his kite would be flying right high. And we used to be amazed at this tiny leader who was always winning while we were all standing locked in one corner. I wish his parents had seen this young leader, the leadership quality in him, and maybe they would have nurtured him and nourished him further. Or God knows, he's already a small leader of sorts. I have another story for you. Just close your eyes and watch with me. This is one huge family which has an old wise cook and an old mistress. And this house has grandfathers and sons and daughter-in-laws, children and grandchildren, and the mistress of the house. And the whole family at different time points would flock around this wise cook and tell her what they actually wanted to have on the table for dinner or lunch. And somehow she would get all those varied dishes in some combination or the other, so that it would appease all of these people sitting there. And there was this old mistress in that family who had her own fierce threads of connect with every family member, and they would actually come to her with their griefs, their happiness, their joys, their consultations, their wanting to know her viewpoint. And when any one of them were ever to get unwell, the house would actually fall apart. Now, isn't that called leadership? A genuine leader is not a searcher for consensus, but a molder of consensus. Have you actually looked at the ants and the trail of ants, the following ants, the leader ant going laboriously with her trio to build that ant hill? And I would feel that I see leadership in that leader ant leading all her followers behind her. So that means leadership is seen in every nook and cranny. It actually needs virtues of modesty. We need to be modest to have a group of people coming to like us, to get attracted to us. We need to have that humility in us, that simplicity in us, that transparency in us. And what should shine through our eyes is that crazy commitment of ours to reach out to one and all of them, to go do the good which you would want to as a leader. It has to be a passion to keep that entire force together, and it should have a quality of equanimity, a kind of acceptance that they need not see eye to eye with you at all times, but yet you as a leader should have that brilliance to somehow shine through them. You should have the genius, that astuteness to touch their hearts, to reach out to them. And I think those are the skill sets of innate leadership. And leaders are born with an innate talent to question conventional wisdom. And COVID times came up with its own touching tales of leadership. Before I go on to the women folk, there were two young mechanical leaders who had joined a job on a probation and were somehow weaned out during the first wave of COVID. But they did not sit back. They started running a meet the needs kind of a service agency, which was meant to cater to all requirements of a community of senior citizens, reaching out to every need of theirs, to medicine, to the emergencies, to going to the banks for them. And there were another group of young guys who had again lost their jobs, but with their meager resources, were looking at the free food and shelters for the laborers who were out of jobs suddenly. And this was another format of leadership. In fact, there was a sense of need and belonging which came thrusting into them all of a sudden. There was a resource for them to channelize their skill sets in these very troubled times. And imagine the enormity of the leadership which these young guys showed, which crossed all boundaries and all frontiers, because therein was a sense of responsibility. There was a sensitivity in these dire, glaring, traumatic times. That means leadership is not about running rallies. It's not about false promises or collecting crowds. Leadership is not about podiums or money stacked in banks, but leadership is about that fire in your belly, that true leadership quality, which comes a sudden moment in your life. You may not even recognize that moment coming up to you. It could be a troubleshooting moment. It could be just a moment when somebody suggests to you, why don't you stand for this post? When somehow, if you collect that innate leadership quality, which is hidden there in each and every one of you, I think leadership is an action and it's not a position. So let me come to my talk. What is women in leadership and what are the issues that strikes this forefront? History tells us that the evolution was a tough story. There was leadership, of course. Let's not forget that there were certain matriarchal societies in those times too. And there were women of the houses who had a huge family, and she was the leader of the house too. But it was a tough story because the gender bias was so steep through the ages. In fact, the woman also believed in those gender biases, let herself believe that she was the weaker sex, because women at those days were not meant for top priority positions of life and society. And it was sort of an untold truth, being that she bears the brunt of the familial challenges. So let her be at home. Let her take care of those, because you want the peace if she can take care of all those messy things behind the background. But then, do we pause the button therein? No. Women were not ready for that. Women were born leaders. They had been through troubled times. They were troubled times, always troubled times for them. They were meant to handle crisis. They were meant to handle the meager, the messy, the difficult situations, dealing with crowds of family members coming for a sudden lunch, a sudden dinner, the difficult moments, dealing with a small amount of money and running the entire households. But some of the women moved out and went into middle managerial positions. But then they were quite disappointed because there was a lack of advancements in her surrounds. There were a continuous existential challenges in her place of work and back at home because she was not encouraged or supported for going out to work when she was needed more at home. So she was not supported by her peers. And it was sort of foretold that she would be inconsistent. She's going to be less dependable in the place of work because she has so many worries back at home. And of course, she was plagued with newer and newer challenges, unexpected challenges, while all along the man in question, he played the field, unfettered, unhindered, chauvinistic and dominant. Of course, the man of that particular house cared for the woman to go ahead. But then he was helpless because he was just one among many against the concept that women were not dependable. But history moved on. How is it possible that a woman as a leader would just sit back because she had to rise for a worldwide aggression? And there was so much of self-confidence in her. She knew she had to do terrifically well at home. That is, she had to deal with the cudgels of sheer work at home, and she had to hold on tightly to her determination. And gradually, just as you saw the percentage of women MPs going up in the various Lok Sabhas, these women leaders came up on their own making. Let's understand how the world would be if 50% of them were male and 50% were women in leadership. Look at the diversity. Look at the benefits of having different diverse groups within a population. Imagine the equity in leadership when the whole field is opened up for both the male and the female to work equally hand to hand with each other, because both of them were born alike, XY chromosome or XX chromosome. It's just diverse perspectives, collective decisions. Imagine the interests of so many would be protected, and a context would get created for conflicting opinions to come in, and so many new thoughts to evolve, so many diverse thoughts to emerge, an idea for change coming forward, and there would be an equitable distribution of resources. And don't you think that would be a strong new platform? And when we talk of leadership, I think we need to talk about mentorship also, because if leaders had to evolve, they could not evolve alone. And anything positive, meet a good mentor, if they could lead the team forward, was itself a forward thought. So what is mentorship? Mentorship means a leader helps to build potential of her teammates, of those self-help groups, of the organization she works in, or a school or a college, where she encourages everybody to start a career, to start in a participatory way. She's focused on convincing and seducing everybody in that team into a common vision, wherein she's going to create spaces for actors to talk, to think together, to evolve a shared kind of vision where there's a consistency on message. Mentorship is about leading a team wherein you leave behind a heritage and your legacy and what you thought, what you desire for the forward thinking actually carries on. In other words, mentoring in leadership is about motivation, giving advice, leading to success, giving a direction, coaching your colleagues and team workers, giving them the support whichever way, addressing a goal, and training them to what best ability. But mentorship was not as flowery as I tried to make it, because there were very many tough tales which were evoked, because some of these mentors actually worked on a very tiny budget of brown bag lunches, off-the-shelf screen training, very little follow through. Some of them were mere lip service supports. And believe me, during that time when leadership was evolving, there were some rare women leaders who were actually reluctant to support the other women who are coming forward to join in them, because they believed that they had worked hard to be seen as a leader in a man's world and not addressed as a woman. And they did not want to join with this women group to undermine their hard-won credibility. But the woman in question, that is the woman leader, saw the changes forward. She had the courage to see beyond all of this and discuss her propensity to leadership as attributes and credits to her upbringing through her childhood, to an environment which she grew in, because she was that little princess of her dear father who had suffused so much confidence in her. In fact, that father would tell her that there was never a guy who could come up to take the hand of his most immensely capable daughter. And with that suffused confidence, this woman grew to power and position. And if you look at the demographic, there has been changes in the life pattern. The woman was keen on ensuring that she was well trained in her educational career. So there were late marriages. There were fewer children born. There were childcare facilities. There were creches. There were flexi times and remote workings. All of it started coming in gradually, which actually was meant to prevent women from getting drained from the system after childbirth. And women had to still continue to break through many invisible barriers in the home front and in the workplace to try to reach top position. But largely still, many of them were in medium-sized companies rather than large. But then these were the moments which had many of the management companies and schools pondering. And this was a Harvard Business School report which said that any of those companies which hired female partners by more than 10% saw a 1.5% spike in the overall fund returns each year and 9.7% more profitable exits. What does that say? That if you have women in leadership, she's actually going to bring in tangible financial benefits for you. It also is necessary at this juncture to understand what is a glass cliff. It is an idea where a female leader is suddenly put in charge of a company which is in deep trouble, deep shit. In other words, there is a moment for her to feel gratified that she's come into a senior post, but the chances of failure was so high because that company apparently was an already broken setup. What does that mean? Does it mean that a woman can handle a crisis better? Or does it mean that they are given these reins when the failure is high because a woman is always lived in crisis and she is a person who can get herself and her company out of this crisis? As we looked in this last couple of years in the pandemic times, there were highly visible female leaders like Angela Merkel in Germany, Tsai Ing-wen of Taiwan, Jacinda Ardern of New Zealand, governors of states in US, many female governors, but they had different physical circumstances, cultural, political. They were from a different country, different state, city, territory. Everything mattered. The decision taking was very specific in that time bound in that region. But there was one big takeaway which was revealed. One very important information which came through was that women in leadership were trustworthy, could lead anyone in times of stress and crisis. And then a perception shift happened in the man's mind. If you look at the global databases, because you need to justify what you're trying to convey on a 360-degree assessment, which was done time and again. They've pulled out assessments of about 60,000 leaders in one database. There were about 22,000 odd women and 40,000 odd men. You wouldn't believe it, women outscored men on most leadership competencies. Now, I'm not trying to put down a man and I'm not trying to bring up a woman, but I'm just trying to tell you that women as leaders, why not? When you look at the definition of leadership, it has actually seen a change. There are two kinds of leadership which are there now. One is a transformational leadership, and one leadership is called the transactional leadership. So when you talk of transformation leadership, it is about building self-confidence. It's the desire to influence people, bring out strong values. It has 4 I's: individualized consideration, intellectual stimulation, inspirational motivation, in fact, an idealized way to influence others, raising their levels of consciousness to organizational goals and addressing higher needs. Whereas Transactional leadership was an exchange between leaders and his followers. Rewards for monetary and non-monetary terms, contingent awards like gold awards, like active management by exception and passive management by exception, wherein you monitor the action of subordinates, you give corrective measures, you promote compliance through rewards or even punishments, and it is all centered around supervision, individual performance, group performance, and organization. Now, transactional leadership was what men believed in, and it had its pros, a lot of pros and some cons. The pros was the performance was rewarded. The employees who delivered results were rewarded. The good behavior was promoted and encouraged, and that was productive. There were short-term goals could be achieved quickly, high productivity in repetitive processes, and an order and a structure was achieved. Instructions, expectations, roles, this is what I expect from you, measured rewards, all was very clear. But the cons was there was a limited creativity. There was just one leader. There was a rigid system there. They were punished for lack of bonus and demonstrations and blames and negative criticism as a leader, what he thought his followers should have been. And some people there had motivational problems. They needed to be motivated, not just with rewards. And the woman there was believing in transformational leadership, because that was a forte, that was a breeding ground for a woman to evolve as a leader, to move out of the shackles or the chains of that age-old belief that woman is just meant for home, and she needed to move beyond into that never-ending horizon. When you talk of leadership, there is also about solidarity. It was like looking into your team and identifying a talent, and that instituted a very robust leadership development. And some of the first responders realized that including women in some unprecedented way would take them forward in their organization. And it was also stemmed by already existing presence of women in healthcare and social services. Women have been seen in front lines in extreme risks, which actually stopped you, because it eroded that distinction that men were for protection and women were for nurturance, because now women could cast themselves into roles as heroes. The pandemic effect did one other wonderful thing. It actually dissolved the industrial era divide between the home and the work. Now, it was not about centralization of work in huge workspaces and huge, awesome buildings, but to portable, cheaper, accessible technologies. That rigid boundary between a physical workspace and the home, it slowly dissolved away, and women started gaining more acceptance, not as a woman alone area, but work at home area. In fact, larger companies had already gone on to this broad-based concept of work from home, especially Tata's and more. But what they looked at it was they were sparing the community commuting wear and tear, the family separations, saving on rentals, saving on huge office space, which was all so redundant. And there was savings, which was significant for the company, and which was a reflection, which actually is going to continue beyond the pandemic. But then let's stop. It also meant for a woman, there was going to be a double load of work, possibly, which was also a recipe for burnout, because the pandemic effect had its own challenges of homeschooling the children, taking care of their homeworks, sitting with them when they were on their online classes, the single parent role, the shift workers, not supportive partners. Yes, there were savings of sorts, but there was definitely a possibility of burnout. But then there was one big thing came out of it, that both men and women started sharing the same stuff of work. Of course, there's going to be more structural changes which evolved. There would be great pressure on nuclear families, but then women had started moving forward because the boundaries between the men and the women was breaking down fast, and companies had started taking a deep look, a hard look at the diversity of having men and women in the organization, having the inclusive criteria, the gains from it. And they realized that they had to have very critical dialogues about the personal impact of all those deep prejudices and bias which they had, because the leadership had to expand further. It had to have a broader reach. So what did we see? We saw a history of evolution. We saw the struggle of the gender bias, which was so steeped in there, which is still there. We also see the gender pay gaps. We do still see the social discrimination. And what do I talk about the sexual harassment? It is so meaningless. It is such a waste for a woman who's on a war path to get some leadership quality going in her. And where is she stuck with these kind of nuisance values in the society? But then a woman for leadership would move forward. And believe me, there were so many men's association, so many men's activists who came forward to their rescue, evolving hope in them that the woman had a better future for themselves. So then I talked about what is leadership in a small way. I try to give you a brief picture of how women and leadership struggle was an ongoing process in the last centuries and decades. But I need to talk about ophthalmology and women, being a woman ophthalmologist herself, and who was voted by these ophthalmologists, both men and women of the country, to stand before you to give this talk. The ground reality was actually different here. There was a silver lining. Yes, because already the mantle of leadership was diverse. If you look into the medical colleges, the different medical schools, there is a higher and higher percentage of women who are coming in. And this sort of augured that there was going to be an equal footing more likely. However, the logistics continued to be different because the woman had to take care of the home, the children, the family, but there were also technological challenges which she had to cope. And it was like, you fight your own race in your own ground. Because there were many crossroads which this young woman ophthalmologist saw. She wanted to be a leader, but she needed to bridge bridges between the family, the children. There was that career pool. She saw her contemporaries who worked with her, who studied with her, who went ahead and did fellowship, which she might not have done, but yet she needed to stay afloat amongst these contemporaries. And if you look at the global pattern, you realize that women spend on an average 352 minutes a day on unpaid work as against 52 minutes amongst men. But then woman had to realize that she needed to have that graciousness to enjoy her motherhood because it's a gift to women at large. You need to allow that graceful passage of time for childbearing and those follow-up responsibilities. The woman leaders, I want to tell you, have the intelligence to exploit each moment. Do a gradual shift to part-time work before you go full steam head on. Please take help of all those elders around you. Build strong foundations at your home front and your surrounds. Because the scenario is going to evolve. A moment of redundancy would come into that family. A moment of self-realization would come, and moment would awaken all those lifetime ambitions in you. Because, dear woman, you only see obstacles when you take your eyes off the goal. You need to set foundation for yourself right from the beginning, like in ever-evolving growth in quotients. Do not get into an unnecessary hurdle race, suddenly throwing yourself from family out into this world of leaders, because it is not about two extremes. You have to take work in small measures, do short working hours, but ensure that there is a sense of quality which comes in, and it has to be a constant process. There would be a gradient. It is going to be a steady climb. It's not going to be like your men contemporaries, but believe in yourself. Believe that career is your personal belonging. Believe it, that it is going to be a solitary climb you're going to climb, and even your husband is not going to walk that climb with you, because you have to have that constant urge in you to keep resuming that climb, even when you have stumbles along the way. And do not dissipate your energy in rebelling with your family members or being militant with your friends. Just have that questioning mind to just devour all that you're seeing around you and learn as much as you can in that very brief moment of freedom which you have. If you look at this monster salary index survey, it tells that Indian women are earning 19% less than their male counterparts. Set that aside. That is not the moment. The need of the hour is to define yourself, redefine yourself, to reach your own goalposts. You can choose any of the business models. Believe you have been the rungs of ladder on which your men have built their success stories. So should you not build up courage to dream a pinnacle for yourself? You could look at any business model, because you are a late starter. So you need to equip yourself in small measures. You need to get all qualifications, small and big, along the way. You need to knock doors. You need to connect on whatever small learning or big learning. But then finally, I promise you, you will come to a level playing field. You need to build your own army, my friend, with a lot of intelligence and passion. Every single family members of yours has to become your brand ambassador. Believe me, it's about your future gains. It is your backup plan. It's your safeguard. You need to be very strategic in how you deal with your internal relationship, because that's how faster you are going to be a winner. It is no sense at all to win those small trivial arguments with your husband or your colleagues or your competitors, because you are viewing a very big battle. You are viewing a victory for yourself. And dear woman, don't lose sight of your final goal in question. Differentiate yourself from all that routine negativism which an ordinary woman may look at. You have to strengthen your psyche. You have to sustain that generosity which is so woman in you, to give more to your family, more to your society, and continuously look at that reachable horizon for you. So how do you do that? You build a name in your immediate society. You build your practice. Every single patient becomes your family member. You become known as a good surgeon. You collect your small resources, your bank loans. You get attached to small hospitals. You market yourself. If there is a chance to get into a social niche for prominence, you keep evolving. Don't give up. If you have a philanthropic husband to help, do take his help. But if that small, lonely boat appears rocky, don't board it. You climb the stairs with your senior partners. Make yourself indispensable to your organization, be it a standalone hospital, a corporate chain. Establish your stand. Believe me, you have to work harder than a man. You have to work tirelessly to gain prominence. You could even find yourself taking a share in his business and incentivize growth, a risk-free life. So start building a sense of ownership and pride in yourself, because you alone will take you forward in your leadership plan. Of course, sky is a limit if it's your husband's practice. And that was a huge advantage for me, dear friends, because my husband was a huge support for me. But let's all understand that if you keep all your family ties with you, if you do not lose sight of your own army, because remember, you need them at different points. You want to attend conferences, you want to go for different meetings, you want to become a leader, you need them all the time. A woman is foolish to pretend that they're equal to men. I believe they are far superior and always have been. And if you want something said, you can just ask a man. But if you want something done, you ask a woman. So then, what is this woman? This woman is a winner. You just watch this woman. You don't to challenge her. She has challenged herself at various segments of her life. She has got the best of her most inimical moments. She has made not her family her own, but newer families after marriage which she entered. She's made those families her own. And believe me, she's going to rise up slowly towards her pinnacle, maybe later than you, man, but she has her cherished memories of her loving husband, of adorable children who flocked around her, her in-laws who looked at her with pride. She has taken diverse parts. She's versatile. She's a man in a man's world, a woman in a woman's world. She's an unbeaten second half, or possibly she's a better half. It's up to you, woman, what you want to be. If you educate a man, you are actually educating an individual. And if you educate a woman, you have actually educated a family. And what matters most is how you see yourself. And believe me, when a woman looks into the mirror, this is what she sees in herself. So woman in leadership, dream your own dreams. Give yourself that right quotient, that push to work, that right quantum of luck, that right amount of forgiveness. That forgiveness is so important at all points of time. That humility, that modesty. Believe me, this whole world is yours to win. So before I conclude, I'm going to give you some points to favor you. Why women in leadership? Why not? because women CEO, 6.4% of the Fortune 500 list are women CEOs. If you look at an organization outperforming others, it's because they have more women in their workforce. If you see a 10% increase in gender diversity, there's a measurable impact on their bottom line. So then if you're a woman in a room full of men, believe me, woman, you will get noticed if you say the right things, as against one man standing up in a room of men. So why don't you paint the future with your fresh new perspectives, your outlooks, your transformational leadership, your passion? I'm sure there's a passion which every woman has, because every woman wants a great home, children evolving into great human beings. And why wouldn't she do well with her enthusiasm and capability? Why cannot she take command to be a leader? She has the communication skills. She has the ability to wear many hats. And you wait and watch. This woman of future, it will also close that gender pay gap and more. So women in leadership, why not? Thank you.
Fantastic. What a mind-blowing presentation, Chitra. I wasn't expecting so much of it. So it was my right choice to start the inaugural Women's Empowerment Committee webinar with you. And what a way. It was absolutely mind-blowing. And
Can I add
really,
something over here?
Sorry?
Can I add something over here? Not
Yeah,
only
definitely.
was
Definitely.
her speech so commanding and so nicely given, her stance
And
also
exhausted.
was very good, you know. I mean,
Good.
her stance would inspire a lot of people to do better.
Thank you so
Definitely,
much.
yes.
Thank you.
The way she has spoken it, I think it's an eye opener for all the ladies who are watching, even the men who are watching should take a clue. Yes, women are not less, they're much superior, as you rightly said. Comments from Dr. Ramamurthy sir and Mohan Rajan before we take the panel discussion. Susa is going to introduce all the panelists before we go in for the
Can I
question and answer
comment
session.
or Ramurthy will comment?
Yeah. You can start here, Mohan, as always. Go ahead.
Yeah. First of all, compliments to Chitra. Amazing.
Yes.
What an energy. This talk should
Enthusiasm.
go to Harvard and Stanford, in my opinion.
Yes. It is really good.
Because when I
Mind-blowing.
was looking at this talk, because I have listened to some of these Harvard talks on the TED, and it is really fantastic. It's about not only women empowerment, about leadership qualities.
Leadership
What you
empowerment.
should have.
Correct.
It was a complete 360-degree coverage, in my opinion.
Yes.
And you know, the way you talked and your English command on the English, I know you are a very good debater as well. But
Yes.
really fantastic, Chitra, really fantastic.
Thank
And
you.
you opened the eyes of many. And
Yes.
not only women, but also the men.
Man, yes.
It's also very important, because I think this talk should not only be restricted to ophthalmology webinars. I feel this talk should be recorded and put everywhere. Because
Yes, it is going to be.
everywhere there is a message, even for non-medical, even for Rotary, Lions, everywhere in the non-medical people also. This talk will have a message for everybody, because every day we are dealing with women, and women being completely being suppressed, and so many
Yes.
things are happening in saying everybody should know what is happening in reality. And hats off to you. Fantastic.
Mohan, the best part is I have just given her 6 days to prepare, and see the way she has come out. This is the art of a leader, and she lives by the example. It's so
Absolutely.
nice. I'm so happy.
Absolutely.
We opened up the session with you.
Yeah.
What do you, Ramamurthy?
Oh, I
Ramu,
think,
please.
fantastic presentation, Chitra, and nothing less was expected of you. I mean, I was expecting this from you, so I'm not surprised. And she covered every aspect of leadership. But do I make my comments regarding the topic itself right now, or that follows the moderator?
The question and answer is going to follow soon, but on her presentation, you just give what your thoughts about it before we go further.
It was just superb. I mean, and it's backed up by action, in the sense, because I'm living with her, I'm seeing her. And the best part is that, it's not just profession alone or the professional success, which makes either a man or a woman successful. I mean, to lead a successful life, you need a well-rounded personality, a good family life, and a good professional life. And I think she has managed to mix the two of them together very well and gelled very well. She's given the best of lives to our children, has held back when it was needed at a younger age group when she could have gone ahead. And when the time came, when she had the freedom and the time to go ahead and concentrate on her career, she came by. So this is my personal comments because I have seen her.
You are inside out.
Yeah. So no, it's not that she compromised on any facet in the sense that
Correct.
she has been an excellent mother, an excellent wife, excellent daughter-in-law, excellent daughter, and now, of course, a leader in the true sense. Keep it up.
Thanks a lot, Dr. Amol. No discounting anywhere in any of the presentation. It was a 360-degree full coverage. Thanks, Chitra. Over to you, Karobi. Your comments also,
Yeah,
please,
Chitra,
before we
you
start the
were
session.
absolutely brilliant. Okay,
Yeah.
right from the word go till the word end. I mean, I could have listened to you for another 20 minutes also.
Yes, it was so.
No,
I
and
thought it was
make
not
up
going to
that for
close
the
down, and we
comeback.
wanted more of you.
No, it was really good. And the thing is that, see, what made the talk very sort of forthcoming, which like sort of touched all of us, is that you have experienced all this yourself, and it
Yes.
kind of shows through in the way you speak, in the way you put your thoughts forward. And as Jignesh rightly said, that it is not only about being an ophthalmologist or related to ophthalmologists. This is leadership, which you spoke on, was totally encompassing the total arena of women who
Correct.
are in such fields, or they are in such positions of leadership where, like, sort of they can develop the others. And you certainly did that with your talk. It was a brilliant talk, Chitra. Very nice.
Word from Rajesh also, our secretary. He is a dynamic secretary.
Okay.
Without his support, I am not able to do anything. Rajesh, few comments from you before we start the panel discussion. Unmute, Rajesh.
I would say that was leader's talk, and as everyone knows, she's leading she's leading ARC chairperson ARC, and everyone knows that how she's leading from the front. That was really a flawless and fantastic talk, and I assure you that though today being Monday, many of them would not have logged in, but many of them will be would be listening to your talk later on also.
Thank you. I really
Definitely.
wish. I really
Maybe
wish.
we are going to upload this on the YouTube, and everybody is going to be a gold standard for the people who want to follow not only women leadership, women empowerment, but overall leadership also. It was a fantastic talk, too good. And she's like a world leader rather than just a chairman ARC. Thanks, Chitra. Over to you, Susha, for further this thing,
Yeah.
please.
Yeah, I'm sharing my screen. First of all, thank you, ma'am, for that wonderful talk. For younger generation, people like us, you are an inspiration, an absolute motivation, and the talk was really overwhelming. I really could feel my heart beat so much faster. So over to the panel discussion. So I will be introducing our esteemed panelists, Dr. D. Ramamurthy, sir, who's the chairman of the Eye Foundation. He completed his MBBS from Jipmer, Pondicherry, MD Ophthalmology from RP Center, AIMS, New Delhi, fellowship from Shankar Netralaya, Chennai. His areas of interest are cutting-edge technology in cataract and refractive surgery. He has been the chairman of the scientific committee in AIOS for a period of 6 years, and he is also the past president of AIOS. He has been an invited speaker and performed live surgeries in most parts of India as well as countries abroad. He has 31 publications in peer-reviewed journals, has been awarded 24 named orations in both India and abroad. ACE Award or Asia Pacific Certified Educator Award from APA-CRS, Distinguished Service Award by APAO, Senior Achievement Award by APAO, and Achievement Award by American Academy of Ophthalmology. Welcome, sir.
Thank you.
Now I would introduce Professor Dr. Mohan Rajan sir, a dynamic personality, chairman and medical director of Rajan Eye Care Hospital. He is also the president of Tamil Nadu Ophthalmic Association, past president of IIRSI, and secretary of the Shankar Netralaya Alumni Association. He is a specialist both in anterior and posterior segment surgeries, has made more than 2,000 presentations in national and international journals, has performed more than 130 live surgeries across the world, has several innovations to his credit, the Panchorexes and the Mohan Rajan chopper being a few of them. He has delivered 27 named orations and published 46 publications in various journals. He has won several Best Video Awards from AAO, APARS, ASCRS, ESCRS, APAO, WOC, etc. He has received more than 60 awards and Best Doctor Award twice from the government of Tamil Nadu. He has trained and mentored more than 500 ophthalmologists around the globe. He is also the winner of 55 Ophthalmic Premier League. I think it's 57 now, which is a
57,
world
yeah.
record.
Yeah,
Yes,
yeah,
it's 57 now. It's a world record now. Welcome, sir.
Thank you, Krishnan.
And next, Dr. Kairobi Lahiri, our very own DOA past president. She is a consultant vitreoretina surgeon and pediatric ophthalmologist at Bombay Hospital Institute of Medical Sciences. She is a fellow from Shankar Netralaya, presented several talks, lectures and guest lectures and orations, instruction courses in national and international meetings. She has 6 book chapters to her name and 3 publications. She has won various awards, including the Best Fellow Award from Shankar Netralaya, Helpful Citizen Award, Surgical Excellence Award, Top Doctors of Mumbai Award in 2016 and 2018, received Role Model of the Year from Women's Ophthalmic Society in 2018. She was the ex-president of BOA in 2017 to 18 and the National Ambassador of the Indian ROP Society. Her hobbies are gardening and she dances very well. Welcome, ma'am.
Thank you, Susha.
Great.
Welcome, Kairobi.
Welcome, Mohan. Welcome.
Welcome, all of you.
What you forgot to mention in that CV of yours is that I was one of your teachers.
Yeah, I forgot to add that. And my bestest friend.
Bestest friend.
Yeah. Susha, let's start the panel.
Yeah. So would give some rest to Chitra ma'am after that wonderful talk. So my first question, actually, surprisingly, sir just mentioned the same thing when he was talking about ma'am. So to Ramamurthy sir, what are your expectations when you see a woman at a leadership? I mean, not only ma'am, but any woman. Like, are these expectations different from their counterparts? If yes, how and why?
I think I'll confine myself to ophthalmology because I think we are ophthalmologists and our audience is also by and large going to be ophthalmologists. I don't really understand the need to discriminate at all, women or men in ophthalmology. I think the goals and the standards would be exactly the same. And 10, 15 years from now, I'm sure we'll be talking about men in ophthalmology. Because if you just have to look around, we have 4 DNB seats and I hardly see one person in 12 or 14 PGs that we have, and it's the case all over. So obviously, because of the finesse that ophthalmology demands, the kind of family time it gives, the ability to excel, a lot of women are flocking to it, and they are doing very well. So I believe that, as I already mentioned, it's not just the career which matters. I mean, ophthalmic career is just part of your life. And to have a well-rounded life, to have enjoyed the right through. This aspect of life is extremely important, but it is also important that you set aside the right amount of time for your family. This applies not only to women, but also to men. But let's understand, whatever we might discuss, biologically, the woman has a different role to perform. At the peak of the professional career, their 20s and 30s, the married life, childbearing, etc. So that's the time most of them have to step back and devote some time for this. And I find that most successful women have done this, and I managed to mix the two together, both their professional and personal life. And the ultimate joy, the ultimate enjoyment in life comes in only when they have balanced the two together. I think there are several successful people I see, but apart from this, a small blip in their career when they have to, and obviously the support from the family, support from the husband, support from the rest of the children, everybody is extremely important. But if that is available, the woman is strong-willed again to come back, then I think we should welcome them with open arms. And I, as was Chitra repeatedly emphasized, it's not as if women outperform men all the time, but obviously the kind of devotion, single-minded passion they have for work. We men are easily deviate. We have other pursuits, but I think that focused women is something I always like to keep by my side. I'm not just talking about Chitra, but all my women employees, not even women ophthalmologists, but all the people who work in our organization. I think they've added so much to it. So I believe that it's time we stop talking about how women leaders and men leaders. I believe that leadership is something that comes to people. They are born with a leadership quality and they nurture it through their life. And once they are able to achieve it, then whether it's men or women, they set gold standards for others to follow.
Thank you, sir. In a subtle way, sir did say women are better multitaskers. So thank you for that. Chitra ma'am, so coming to you, there are a few questions lined up for you. What were the main challenges that you faced when you were on your way up? What were the main challenges other than the work-life balance? What else did you face?
See, I think I belong to the older league of women. In the sense, it's not that I was very ambitious from my childhood. I had to be first in class or I had to be a captain in my school, everything, right, from my athletics, everything. But then I did believe that you allow the man of your life to lead the way and you follow it because, you know, success does come to you. But if you're going to fight tooth and nail at every point of time that you want equal shares, then you are stuck nowhere. You alienate that very main person in your life. So I always believe that I need to compete only with myself and not compete with my husband. Incidentally, I worked with him throughout. So it was not that I had to work in a company or colleagues and all that. And I was also lucky to have all the younger colleagues with me who were much younger than me. So the only person to look up was Dr. Ramurthy, and I was not going to compete with him at all. That was not my agenda at all. So it happened very nicely and it sort of fell into place that maybe that was because I decided that I was going to be modest and humble at all times. And I felt that was my way of approaching it. Need not be the only way, but that was my way.
Great, ma'am. You make us jealous of you now. So, ma'am, how would you describe your leadership style? What would you say? Are you like the bossy one or you're like...
No. I would say
bossy at home, I can tell you.
but I wouldn't.
Coming from the
No. There's no question of being mean and offensive and all that.
No, I mean it in a nice way.
Yeah, but yes, leadership. Like I was surrounded by my colleagues at work, and if I'm doing sort of well in ARC, you won't believe I owe to all those senior doctor colleagues of mine who have been so amazing. It was not as if I won that election post. They knew it was too awesome for me alone to handle. So I had to just turn around and ask this one for something, that friend of mine for something. And it was like one big family with me. And the kind of support I have, I could even take my phone and call them even when they were operating and tell them, after that, would you do this for me? And there would be that smile in their voice because I think they saw that passion in me to do well. So it was that kind of leadership where I would be a comrade here. I would be with them. I never thought I was a medical director of the organization. I was their friend. I would compliment them. I would care for them. I would worry for them. I would pray for them. So my belief of leadership was very different. So probably I had Ramurthy as the tough leader ahead. So I could be this kind of a person. Had I been running an organization, maybe I would have had to be more firm in many ways. But I have a problem too. I like things done exactly on time and perfectly done. So I'm sure that would be some kind of stress which passes on to my work colleague partners. But then it is a joyous ride.
I want to say one word for Chitra at this moment before you ask any questions. Uh, when her election campaign was going on, she has called up 22,000 members twice before this, which is like, I can't even think of it, you know. I mean, this is her passion, and this is like totally, it cannot be matched only, you know. So just speaks volumes
Only
about
Chitra
what
can
her
do it.
passion is. Only Chitra can
I
do it.
also want to add one more thing, Karobi.
Yes.
When she was fighting that election, she did approach. I am absolutely no namer bolte hain na, XYZ, and she was there. In fact, so nice of her. That whenever she's around, she'll feel that you are one of the top persons in this. That is how she manages the whole show, and that is one of the leadership qualities. You take along your people, everybody, whoever it is, whatever it is, you don't isolate them in a different this thing. So that helps in the leadership qualities. The other person will go along with her aram se. That is how I say.
No, definitely you have to delegate and you have to give the required amount of
Very
respect to every
important.
person to do his work nicely, you know.
Absolutely. Yes, Susha.
Sir, it kind of covers my third question. Ma'am, was it easy to delegate once you reach there? Then you have these people working under you or the subordinates, and then you have to delegate some really important work, and you're like, we'll leave you to be able to do it. And was it easy to let go?
Uh, yeah, delegation is actually difficult when you have very set goals and there's a lot of age difference because the other person, a younger person, has other priorities in life, their career and many more. Not that I had less, but they were more into it and they were single-handedly doing it. I had a bigger workforce with me. So then, but I had this dream. You know, you get only one moment for your dream, and that time you have to do your best. So I'm not sure whether I was able to delegate much of it. There was a lot which I had to take up and do myself, but it was nobody's fault. It was just that
My passion.
we-
That is how it is.
Great, great. Thank you, ma'am. So I will move over to Mohan Rajan, sir.
Yeah.
I'm going to ask you a very dicey question.
Yes.
You'll
Sir,
get some humorous answers.
yeah. How has been your experience with women at the workplace? As in, are they assets to your organization, or at some point of time you feel that yeah, they may be a good employee, but they are liabilities in a sense?
Let me start from my home itself. You know, Sujata is a really a dynamic, I would say, woman, just like Chitra. She's got. Only thing is, she is. I would say that women, because most of the consultants in my organization, most of the postgraduates are also women as well. I feel that women generally have a lot of qualities which are better than men, especially the compassion and empathy towards the patients, and also being ethical, because they have a conscience which are much better than men, I would say. Their high school temperament is something which is phenomenal. Especially I've seen with Sujata, she will not be perturbed by anything. And all my idiosyncrasies she tolerates. That itself shows that she's got a very high school temperament past almost 3 decades. And more importantly, the commitment is definitely more when compared to a man, I would say. The commitment and also the loyalty to the organization is much more,
Trustworthy.
I would say. It's something which is really incredible. And they have an attitude of what is called live and let live. Okay. And they are definitely more capable, especially in the field of ophthalmology, because that's the one where we can comment. I would tell my patients, yes, Sujata operates better than me. Okay, that's a fact. She operates better than me. You get operated. If I have a cataract tomorrow, I will get. If I have something, or I will get operated by Sujata. So I convince the patients like that one. So I don't have any ego. You should not have any ego between the. See, first of all, the most important thing which hinders the women empowerment of women coming up is the professional jealousy and the ego
Yeah.
between the spouses. Okay, I think that should not be there. You should consider that that person is equal to you or even better than you. What is wrong? If somebody is better than me, then definitely I would say
We
Ramurthy
should
is better,
encourage.
yeah, but Ramurthy is a better ophthalmologist and entrepreneur than me. I can openly accept. I don't have any problem. I have got my own strengths and weaknesses. He has got his own strengths and weaknesses. You work on your strengths instead of working on another person's weakness. So that is, I think, the attitude everybody should have. And the only two drawbacks women have is they have a starting trouble. Okay, the starting trouble. That's why you need a good spouse, a good husband to be there, or somebody like your father or a parent who can, or a brother who can push you up the ladder. Initial push is necessary for a woman. Okay, once they push them there, and then okay, sky is the limit for them. Sky is the limit for them. And also, I would say that the work-life balance is something which is phenomenal in women, because they manage so many things at the same time. We are, for example, in my hospital, I would say, if Sujata is managing the household, she's managing the children, she takes care of the administration of the hospital, she does the surgeries, she sees the patients, she does research work, she does publications, she does everything. Okay?
Takes care of you also.
Taking care of me itself is big full-time job. So,
What?
whereas I play golf in the morning, then I do surgeries, I see patients. The only two drawbacks is that starting trouble. If you are able to start them, kickstart them, they are on the way. Fantastic. You cannot catch them. It's like a horse galloping in the course. Number one. Number two is, I feel that the public
Your voice is gone, Mohan.
Sir,
Mohan,
we
voice
can't
is gone.
hear you.
We can't hear you. Mohan, we can't hear you.
I'm sorry.
Yes.
Yeah, go ahead. Repeat,
Yeah.
repeat.
The public relations, PR, I think the men are better than the women, but I think it's going to change the next few years. It's also it's changing scenario, but I think the future is going to be completely dominated by women. As far as ophthalmology is concerned, it's going to be completely, and it is definitely, they are better surgeons, I would say. They got better dexterity and they handle the delicate tissue. And the biggest empowerment which happened to me and Kerobi in Shankar Nethralaya is I empowered Kerobi so much in Shankar Nethralaya. So,
Mr. carry his grief case
He's
along.
a super surgeon now.
It's a really fantastic, the friendship and association me and Kerobi had. Every moment is really fantastic. And, like that, it's important that, because it's very, very important that we have these men, we have to promote these women. And once you push them up, and, they will teach you a lot of things in life.
Great.
Yeah, Mohan pushed me up in my fellowship.
And, Kerobi is somewhere now. She's reached the pinnacle.
Yes, already.
She's an authority on ROP. She's authority on pediatric retina. She is so good, but she yet very humble. Humility is something which is very, 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 very common. I would say that one of the very unique qualities of women: humility and modesty. They will not,
and even empathy they have.
That's what I saw in the beginning.
People, we shout
Empathy towards the patient.
They are so soft
Because of the motherly attitude, they have that. Yes, they have that empathy. And Chitra said it all. Everything is there. And Chitra is probably a role model for everybody.
Yes.
Because I've been moving with Chitra. We traveled almost a year. Every airport we used to say have noodles together. Fun we have. And I used to admire Chitra. Even now, always I admire Chitra, because the work-life balance she has got and the way she is doing. And Sujata is also a similar person. Only thing is, Sujata is not so forthright like Chitra, I would say. But Sujata has also got very good qualities, fantastic qualities, very good temperament. You put a boulder on her, she will not even move. Yeah, that's because she's also...
That is needed.
Yeah,
That is needed, in fact, I feel.
yeah, no,
In a
yeah,
family person, it is a must.
yeah. And
And
you
Mohan, there's
know,
one more thing.
yes,
See, especially if there's a husband and wife running an institution, it is the astuteness of the woman who will guide you as to what is going right and what is not going right. Because a
Absolutely.
innate sixth sense is there in all women, which tells you, okay, this candidate is like, faulting, or this candidate is doing very well. These smaller points are picked up by women more easily
Yes.
than men.
It also
yeah,
turns out to be a stick and carrot approach. Somebody has to be strict and enforce rules
Yes,
and
exactly.
discipline. Well, at the same time, more friendly touch and somebody they can go to, rely on, even share their personal woes. I mean, that way is not just inside the house, but even within an organization brings in a lot of balance. But one thing I would like to differ from most of you, just like class, creed, religion, age does not determine the character or the nature of the person, whether it's empathy or whether it's greediness or whether it's quality to quarrel or whatever. I don't think it's right to slot them in as men or women. They are unique to this. I believe that maybe there's a certain tendency, but overall, I find that there are ladies who are extremely competitive. There are men who are quite subtle and willing to take a back seat, even allow their wives to progress. We have come, I mean, we are not talking about what was happening a couple of decades back. We are talking about 2020 and beyond. And I believe that more and more, especially in our field of ophthalmology, we'll see that
More
women are
women
coming
than
to the
men.
forefront. And maybe in our own professional lifetime itself, we'll see that we'll happily see that they are the leaders and we follow them.
Ramu, the number of women who are entering ophthalmology, at
Much
least in
more
Maharashtra,
nowadays.
I have seen a much more than the men.
Everywhere, everywhere.
it's almost
Absolutely.
50-60% now.
More than that.
Much
Yeah,
more.
Some places almost 70-80%.
yeah.
2 of boys and 8 of girls. That is what is the
We should
proportion.
start a men in ophthalmology forum now.
Yes, we'll have to start that now. Male empowerment.
Male empower. Next week I'll give a talk. Male empowerment.
We will empower you. Sujata already has, I'll also empower you.
Reverse empowerment. Okay?
Reverse
So go for it.
empowerment.
Okay, Sushant. Over to
Okay,
you.
next we'll have a small question to ask Kerubi ma'am.
Yes.
Kind of the discussions are, I think Ramamurthy sir is stealing all my questions. So before I ask only, he says something
Go ahead.
related.
Sorry.
No, Kerubi ma'am, how do you think that things have changed from your time and now with respect to opportunities for women? Like you're saying, more people getting into ophthalmology are girls. And your work environment, the support and the attitude of your male colleagues, as well as one very prominent thing which most of my colleagues and most of my seniors have experienced, the attitude of the patients towards
Yes.
a woman leader.
Okay. See, to answer your question, let's go back a few years when I did my fellowship or I was in medical school. See, at that time when I joined the fellowship program at Shankar Netralaya, I was the only female fellow over there. Okay. Sujata and another girl was there. They were the DO students, but they were pursuing the DO course. I was the only fellow for a long time, and the thing is that it was like being one person among so many men, and you had to fight your own battles to show that you mean business, that you have come here to learn. You're not here to philander or flaunt yourself or anything, where many people have that kind of opinion. I remember at Shankar Netralaya, there were a few candidates who had even commented on my clothing. I used to wear everything very full and this. I never had any revealing stuff over there. But there were guys who had spoken about my clothing because I used to wear salwar kameez, and they had said like सब designer कपड़ा पहन के आती है, ये सब बम्बई की लड़कियां हैं, चालू लड़कियां हैं. This is what they had said. So I listened to it and I just told him one thing. I said, I think you're going to become an ophthalmologist, a vitreoretinal surgeon, and not a designer. Okay, so stop commenting on people's clothes and let us lead our own lives. So, Susha, it is like this, that at every point of time, people are there. There are good people like Mohan. He always used to help me. He was my guide for everything, you know, and whatever my griefs, has to give it to him. So he used to carry it in his briefcase, the briefcase, I mean. So,
Don't talk about the briefcase.
no, I have to talk about it. So there were people, good people like him also. There were some people, some guys who used to like help me, you to know the system. And they used to say that, you have to be very careful with this person, or you have to be quiet with this person. I mean, those kind of tips which help. And on the other side, there were a few who wanted to make fun. They thought that the like a female coming into that arena, of theirs was like not welcome. So, a lot of comments to that, but you have to sort of keep
Live with
your
it.
nose fixed to the ground and stride ahead, because these things should not bother you in any way. You have come there for a purpose, you solve that purpose and you go out. Okay. And after, when I went out, I got the Best Fellow Award. So that was like a smack in whoever's face was trying to say these things about me. Okay. So you mean business, you have to stick to your end and do your own thing without talking too much. Right. Now what happens is that the only other person who had done a fellowship in VR was probably 5 years ago. And that person was like not practicing VR actively in Mumbai. But the thing is that it was that rare at that point of time. And then when you come back
Right.
here, when I joined Bombay Hospital as a consultant, I was the only female consultant, and I was the only female consultant for probably 10 or 15 years. There were all males around me. There was no female consultant. Only Sonia joined later, so it was this. At that point of time also, you sort of get to hear a lot of things, negative things which are being told, because they want to make an impression on somebody that so and so is like, not up to the mark or not good. So you have to just override all these kind of things. See, finally, it is your work which speaks for you. If you
Yes.
know that you are doing what you're supposed to do, you do it. First things, dress up well, because your appearance, your persona is very important. And we women have to work 3 times harder to make the same impact that a male would. Okay? Nobody will comment on male clothing, but they will comment on female clothing. So if you're dressed in a very polished fashion, nobody can make comments. So that one part gets ruled out. The second thing is that be diligent about your work. You set the rules right from the beginning. Okay, I got married at the age of 42. Okay, so 42, when I got married, I was already a consultant at Bombay Hospital. And at that point of time, there were people who made things, oh, now she's got married. So then after 1 year, it's going to be maternity leave and it's going to be this. I mean, these kind of things which boil your blood when you hear this. But you say, it's okay. It's all part of the system. When the thing occurs, we will see what is to be done about it. And then you go and move ahead. You do your work. Then they say that, a lot of comments do come up. And these are all male comments, because all my contemporaries were male over there. There was not a single woman over there to share this. Then sometime later, Teresa came in. But the thing is that she also went off to UK. So it is that you're going to hear all these kind of things. You have to just lay the ground rules. Like, I am a person who works in the night more. Okay, I like, whether it's reading or whether it's preparing my talks or whether it is even working, I prefer the night, because the morning is devoted to my home. I devote my time, the full morning is for my home, it is not for anybody else. I see that no part of my home is kind of neglected because of my passion for work or whatever I want to do. And that includes everything. So you have to have a set time. See, in the night, if you come back at 2 o'clock and then you want to make a presentation, yeah, do it from 2 to 4. What stops you?
Amazing.
It's just a mental block, which stops you. You do it and then finish it off. You see that your presentation is ready by the time you have to talk about the thing. So these were support. Yes, there were colleagues who were supportive also. There were colleagues who used to go and backstab you because they talk something in front of you and they give you a different picture to the management, so that the management feels that this person is not up to the mark. But in the end, it is just that when you do your work properly and you do it with your full passion, your patient numbers increase. The increase in numbers is by word of mouth, and not by any kind of cuts which are given to any kind of GPs for getting patients, which I can be proud of, that today all my patients are my own patients. They are not any cut patients from any GPs. And you just move ahead, and then you prove yourself in the end. So you really don't have to do anything much, but just be loyal to whatever you are doing. And if it is a question of late hours, yeah, your partner has to be very supportive. Okay, my partner is not from my fraternity, it's not from ophthalmology, so he's from a different, but he understands me, he gives me the support. So I do what I have to do without any thought, that I'm neglecting him or I'm not doing whatever is supposed to be done, because he sees my work environment and what I do for my house, and so that's fine. So you have to set the ground rules in the beginning, and just don't pay attention to anybody, just do your work. That's all I have to say. Even residents, when they come, you have to understand their problems, because those residents are sometimes working at for 6 people. So the thing is that you cannot pull them or say that you have to come for this. What you can manage on your own, you manage. What you cannot, you request them, can you please come? They will certainly come, because it is a request and they will always heed your request. So these are small things which help you nurture your own life, and you build up your life according to your capabilities. If you have a child coming in, yes, of course you have to look after the child. If you have a cat at home, yes, you have to look after the cat at home. But do all this, and anyways, women are das bhuja. Okay, they have 10 hands. So they are able to do everything properly when put to the test. So that's all I've got to say.
Very rightly said, Karobi. But good thing I have to, one thing I would like to say, whether it is men or female, good family support or from your hubby is very, very important, both ways.
Yes, it is.
For men, women should be behind, and for the women to come forward, the men has to support. Otherwise, a little difficult in the work-life balance also.
No, and in
Yeah.
this, like when you're working alone, in the sense, I don't have grandfathers, fathers who would push me in the profession. You're on your own. And there are a lot
Correct.
of people who are in that kind of category where you're alone, but you have to make your way up. So it's just a determination which helps you to do that.
Yeah. Determination and passion, both are required.
Can I make a
Yes,
comment?
Mr. Yeah. Come
Yeah,
on.
what I like about Kerobi is her conviction, her forthrightness and assertiveness, I would say, and
Yes.
also, and she is very, very open-minded,
Yeah.
and she is
Nothing is hidden.
very,
Nothing is hidden.
very transparent, and she's an extrovert, and she will point blank, just like me, point blank tell openly, and no, with no hard feelings at all, with always a
Yes.
smile, always a smile, and that goes along very well to create a nice camaraderie and good rapport among everybody. And
No,
I
definitely.
never
Rightly
considered,
said, Mohan.
actually, I never considered, when to be frank, I never considered Kerobi as a woman at all, in the sense that
You're
when
friends.
it is
She's an
yeah,
all-rounder.
my
Yeah.
colleague, that's what my good friend. Even
Yeah.
now, every day when we talk to each other, you are my best friend. We so
Bestest.
yeah, bestest friend and all that. We talk like that only, because I really admire her qualities, because I know, because she went through I think almost after leaving Shankar Netrala, almost 10 years. She was not 10 or 12 years. She was not married, and then got married to Brian. Fantastic guy. He is an orthopedic surgeon, and he's very supportive. But even before that, I think Kerobi is an example for everybody. Even before that, okay, she had her, I think, her own path. Okay, and
Very
like
focused,
what
very well focused.
Rajnikant says, no, his own path. Just like that, you have to go in an untraveled path, like what Abdul Kalam says. And Kerobi, I
Yeah.
think, went in an untraveled path.
Yeah, I
And
know.
that is why I think she has reached the pinnacle of success. And
Thank you
she
so
has,
much,
I
Mohan.
think, taught a lesson for everybody. Kerobi, I'm very proud of you,
Those
Kerobi.
are most encouraging words.
No, no, I'm always in awe of you.
Mohan, that's why
I'll
she is
tell
the
you a small incident.
chairman of
There
this
is,
committee. Rightly
I'll tell
put it.
you a small incident. There is a consultant. I won't take names. He is a person who generally likes female company, and he's associated with a lot of females and all that. But the thing is that his association with me is one like this, like friends. He says something, I say something, and it's the atmosphere is very this. So one day, the biggest compliment from him was he came, he said that I don't regard you as a female, you are like a male friend only to me. I said, I don't know whether to feel flattered or I feel bad.
Actually, you actually cut across all the barriers, Karubi,
Yes,
in my
yes.
opinion. Yeah, you are an actually example for everybody to follow.
All
And the way
women.
how, because you considered that I am not a woman. I'm a woman, but I will consider myself equivalent to anybody else.
Yes.
That is what.
That's
I
very
think
important.
this sort of conviction and the self-confidence and self-motivation has to be there in every woman.
Yes.
And that is why then only they can come up in their life. I think,
That's true.
yeah, if you
She
see,
carries
you see the
herself
success
so
story of all the
nicely.
women.
Mohan, she carries herself so nicely and she gels with everybody. You don't have to have a man or a female to be there with her.
Yeah, she's like a sodium hyaluronate. Cohesive gel. There are some
now let's go.
there are some disperse also, dispersive gel. Disperse. Whereas the Cherubim is a cohesive gel. Sodium hyaluronate. Heal on fine.
So is Chitra and Susha also.
Susha, let's go further.
Definitely.
Otherwise, we keep chatting which Karobi and Mohan are around. We'll never going to end. Go ahead.
But definitely, I think Chitra ma'am and Karubi ma'am, as well as our esteemed other panelists, the male members, your wives I'm extremely jealous of after hearing this talk. So I think you all would agree that things have changed, but I mean, all these things like the attitude of the colleagues, like what you had to go through during your times, and nobody would do that today to a woman, because in a way, somewhere people are more aware that this is the future and this is how it is going to be. People have accepted it. So it was a great session, Jignesh sir.
Yeah. A big thank you to all of you, especially Dr. Chitra, the way she has presented it. I said it will be a gold standard for all of us to follow. She has really dedicated herself for this topic. She had promised me, Jignesh, the inaugural session will be the best. And of course, she was true to her word. Thanks, Chitra.
I had a suggestion, Jignesh. Whenever you have a physical conference, ask Chitra to present this, because it's worth listening to it with a big crowd sitting in front of you, so that you can gauge the reaction.
Yeah, she does not know who the crowd is.
Give an opportunity for me to hug Chitra also. Otherwise, virtual hug only.
Virtual hugs only.
Ramurthy, you don't mind, no?
Ramu, you can give Sujata a virtual hug.
Ramurthy, Sujata, all the best to Ramurthy then.
Hey, I think
Dr. Ramamurthy, thank you very much for accepting my invite and being the panelist for this. And of course, Mohan, as always, you are always there, a call away and there to join. And Karubi, my dear friend, being the chairman of this committee and being part of this as a panelist. And Susha, she has done a great work. She had actually formulated all the questions. I had passed it on to you all to see that it works out very nicely. It was fantastic way the interactive session also had gone. We have learned a lot of things in this. Big thank you to all of you once again. The Entour people also, they are always there for the technical support. Now I would like to, we'll have more of the physical meet also. I think Chitra and Ramamurthy and Mohan, of course. Karobi, as you rightly promised, I think we'll have a physical meet very soon. With the COVID times now, past, we'll definitely have it. to you, Dr. Rajesh, for your vote of thanks
Before
before
that,
we sign off.
No, I want.
Thanks once again, all of you.
Jignesh, I would like to compliment you.
Rajesh, is he there?
Yes.
Yeah, I am here.
Rajesh is
Yes,
there.
so unmute.
Before that, I would like to compliment you, Jignesh, and your team for this sustained effort. I would say, almost every day you have a program, and it's really fantastic. And your energy levels are simply incredible.
Too much energy.
I would also like to record
Too
my
much energy. I told you to take a break, yeah, now. Take a days off. 2 days off.
Hyper energetic, Jignesh.
I would also like to record my appreciation of Jignesh. I happened to meet him in Pune about a month back, and he was just brimming with ideas. It's all around 360 degrees, whether it's PGs or whether it's women in ophthalmology or the scientific sessions. Truly a great leader, all encompassing. And at Karobi, I always took you as a, we never interacted professionally, but I mean, always took you as a good friend and with a smiling, nice person, but I never had that steely interior was there.
The second bestest, first bestest is there.
Karobi, you are matchless.
You too. And it was so nice having you all here. And Chitra, you were brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. And it was so good to see Mohan, Ramu, Susha, and Rajesh Joshi also. Because he's a silent spectator, but he's a very important person here.
Very important person.
Very important. And the thing is, he has to match Jignesh's energy levels. So the thing is that it speaks a lot for his.
He is matchless.
Sorry.
Flowing with a lot of energy.
Sorry for the loss of connection. I was out. What was discussed about me here?
Matchless.
And also,
The
Jignesh,
opportunity, sir, as soon as you logged out.
change the nomenclature. It is not chairman. Karobi is chairwoman.
You said there should be no gender discrimination, so chairman only. Anyway, let's have a screenshot, gallery screenshot, Sayyid.
Before that,
Rajesh a chance to give his vote of thanks. I mean,
before that, Inter wants to
I
play their
logged off, so
video.
I thought he has already given.
No,
Rajesh, please.
Before that, I will propose vote of thanks. Before that, Inter wants to play their video.
please.
Yeah. The
Ashwin.
indoor people are always around. Fantastic.
Yeah.
Indoor people, as usual, they are always behind
You
us.
should
for
start
all
using
the
this
technical-
ISER.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the essence of today's discussion was men are incomplete without women. That was wonderful beginning for the Women Empowerment Committee set by our vibrant President, Dr. Jignesh Taswala, and Chairperson of the committee, Dr. Karobi Larry. We could not have asked a better person than Dr. Chitra for the today's topic, who herself is a leader. She is flawlessly leading academic and research committee of AIOS. She is a role model for not only women, but also for men. Your talk was inspiring to all who are watching. I know Monday is busy for everyone. I reiterate and assure you many members will be listening to your talk later on. On behalf of MOS, I thank you for sparing your valuable time and sharing your thoughts. I also thank Dr. Ramurthy, Dr. Mohan Rajan, and Dr. Karobi Larry for taking out family time for today's webinar and sharing thoughts. Thanks to Dr. Susha for conducting sessions so well. I am also thankful to all those who have joined on virtual platform for the webinar. Thanks to Entor for the technical support. Thank you all and good night.
Jignesh.
Thank you so much.
Wonderful.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank
Jignesh,
you, Dr.
one
Jignesh.
last-
Thank you, Dr.
last
Rajesh.
appeal.
Thank you, Dr. Karobi.
Thank you, everybody.
Bye,
Jignesh,
bye. Yeah,
Before-
Mohan.
Bye.
one last appeal. Can we ask
Yeah.
input for some samples of Isaac?
Henrik.
Whose eyes you want to put it
No, no.
under first?
Yeah, around the
Paul?
eyes, man.
Shall we have a
I think
screenshot?
you have also developed dark circles. Even I have
Rajesh.
developed. So
I'm not developed.
Yeah.
Rajesh, should we have a screenshot?
Yeah,
Yeah,
definitely.
gallery screenshot now. Sayyad, Mr. Sayyad, Ashwin. Hello.
Yes, doctor. One.
Yes,
Yeah,
sir.
yeah.
Just a moment, sir. I'm taking it and send it to you, sir.
Yeah, please. And then let
Mohan
us
Raj,
know
sir,
the.
please look into the camera, sir. Mohan,
Yeah,
sir.
yeah.
Everybody, please look into the camera. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks a
Thank
lot.
you.
What is the head
Thank you.
count, Sayyad, Ashwin? On the YouTube and this?
We will share in the group, I suppose.
Any.